happy that you guys are sharing your evening with us. I'm so, I'm always just so overwhelmed because we reach out to people. And when I say people, we are joined by Mubarakah Ibrahim, so big wigs. And they are always just so humbly willing to give back. We had a very short discussion, and it was not, I didn't have to negotiate, I didn't have to pull, I didn't have to tug. I let her know what we are doing to empower our parents, and she said, yep, and it was that easy. So I'm going to turn the floor right over to our founder and executive director, who is the vision maker, Zerka Abed.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dorothy. And Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is very, very exciting. And I should want to say, I do want to say before even I introduce Sister Mubarakah that I know that Dorothy actually did a dance after you said yes. And then she started posting in all text groups and everywhere. So alhamdulillah, thank you so much. So everybody who is joining us, we would like to introduce you that we are humbled and honored to have this fantastic sister with us, mashallah. She is well known all over the world, all over America, mashallah. But I will still read her official bio just so we know, mashallah, her accomplishment in the right context and why we are so excited to have her with us today. So Sister Mubarakah Ibrahim is an internationally known health and fitness expert and Muslim American businesswoman. She has appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, covers and business features in the Chicago Tribune, in the New York Times, and fitness features in Prevention, Aziza, and Experience Life magazines. Her efforts as both a health and fitness educator and Muslim businesswoman has afforded her the opportunity to be invited as a special guest to the White House iftar dinner by President Obama in both 2012 and 2013, with the honor of sitting directly next to the president. She received her interdisciplinary bachelor's degree in exercise science, public health, and psychology from Southern Connecticut State University. And throughout the 20 years career in her health and fitness, she has received 13 fitness and nutrition certificates. In addition to being an OSIS in the Overwhelmed Master Trainer, a professionally recognized stress management coach certification, and training program, mashallah. Mubarakah is an international speaker in which she lectures, promotes, and conducts workshops on health, fitness, business, social media, marketing, and women in Islam. She is a published author, writer, and poet, and lives in the New Haven, Connecticut with her husband. So mashallah, this is our beautiful sister, Mubarakah Ibrahim. And to add to everything else, you can see that how humble she is and how down to earth she is. So this is the perfect role model we want to see in our sisters. Mashallah, achievements, and then this kind of, humility, subhanallah. Jazakallah khair for joining us today, Sister Mubarakah. I'm so humbled and honored and excited and willing to hear. So I'm going to give you the floor. Please teach us how to live happily and healthy and keep moving. I am the one who needs it, and I'm sure there are so many who can benefit from your talk.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak this evening. And I am really excited and honored to be able to share and empower parents. I think that that's so important. Part of the reason why I am really excited about empowering parents is because of my own personal story. I know what it's like to, one, have a parent that tries hard, but isn't empowered with the information that they need in order to live healthy, in order to help their kids live healthy. So my goal tonight, inshallah, is to not only inspire you to get your kids up moving and why that's important, but also inspire you to break any generational, we call them health curses, right? When we think that things have come been passed down from generation to generation, but in fact, it's just habits that are not so healthy that are actually passed down. And we have the power to break those habits so that we can make healthier generations. So one of the reasons why I do what I do is I tell people that I am everything I am because of my parents. Not just because of what they instilled in me, but also because of what they did not instill in me and how I interpreted that in my own life on how to break those habits for my own life. So I was born to two wonderful Muslim parents who raised me in America. So I'm American Muslim, and my parents, obviously, as all parents did, they did the very best they could with the knowledge that they had. But unfortunately, a lot of that knowledge was not around health and how to live a healthy lifestyle. My father died when he was 55 from a stroke induced by high blood pressure, and he didn't even know he had high blood pressure. My mother passed away from the effects of diabetes after she had a stroke. She had amputations. She was paralyzed from the neck down in the last 18 months of her life. And she suffered because she did not know how to live with this life-changing illness, diabetes. So for me personally, my goal in being healthy for my own personal self is to break this generational health problems that we have. I have a very strong history. It's funny because my daughter actually, I should probably say that too. I'm a mom, since we're talking about parenting, right? So I'm a mom of 4 children. My kids are all older adults or younger adults now. So my youngest will actually be 20 next month. So they will be 20, 22, 24, and 26 years old. And and when they were younger, I homeschooled them for most of their school years, and then they went to public school. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, because I know a lot of parents are inside of that position now, homeschooling, even if you didn't intend on homeschooling, right? Are in that position now. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So one of the things that I realized with my mother is when I had my fitness studio, I remember this one particular day, and she called me up and she said, I got referred to a dietitian and you think I should go. Now, my mother had diabetes. She got gestational diabetes when she was pregnant with my little sister when I was about 7 years old, and it never went away, and it just progressed. As a child, I watched her health decline. I watched her quality of life decline. I watched each symptoms of the side effect of not managing diabetes properly just progressively get worse as she got older and older. And so she's calling me now as an adult and asking me if she should take her doctor up on the recommendation of going to a dietitian. And so I said to her, I said, you've had diabetes for 25 years. Nobody ever referred you to a dietitian? And she's like, no. And it was that moment, that light bulb moment, that I realized that she was not neglecting her health. She actually did not know what to do. She did not know. She was giving this diagnosis of having diabetes and was told, go home and stop drinking soda. Right? No other instruction. Here's some needles, stop drinking soda, monitor your sugar. If it gets too high, this is the dosage that you give yourself. If it gets too low, this is the dosage that you give yourself. That was the extent of the information that she was given. And it was at that moment that I realized that it's really about knowledge. It's about empowering people knowing how to take care of themselves and take care of their families, right? So what I would like to do tonight is hopefully empower you with some knowledge about disease, about the hereditary diseases, and what are lifestyle diseases and how you can avoid them, and how you can help your kids look at health in their body in a different way. So two of the diseases which are the most common, not just in the United States, but in the world, is high blood pressure and diabetes. Even though diabetes is a world epidemic, in the United States, there is actually high blood pressure is more common. More people have high blood pressure than they do diabetes. Diabetes is kind of like the secondary illness. Both of these illnesses do have some genetic factors, but they are not guaranteed you because your aunt has them, because your mother has them. They are lifestyle illnesses. So probably about 10 years ago, the medical health community intentionally changed the terminology around these diseases from not just chronic diseases, but preventable diseases. And they're referred to as preventable diseases very intentionally, so that we can get across to people is that you can prevent getting these diseases through your lifestyle, right? So we say that your genetics is the gun and your lifestyle is the trigger, right? So if the gun is sitting there and you know it's there and it's put away and there's nothing and you're not messing with it, it's harmless, right? It's just a piece of steel. It's the lifestyle that you live that determines whether or not that is actually going to create harm to your body, right? My mother didn't know that the rice that she was eating, the pasta that she was eating, the stress that she was under was all being detrimental to her health, right? This is something that even I, as an adult, had to learn. Even I tried to teach my kids, and inshallah, as they have kids, I am now a new grandma. So that's another part of being a parent. I have a beautiful granddaughter, Amina, who was born 4 months ago. So we're hoping that with her, health and nutrition information will become automatic. That it will become like, this is just the way that we are. This is what we need to do for our health. And she don't have to do what I did, which is to go out and search and get degrees and get certifications and listen to people in conferences, because it will be really just natural information that we can pass down from generation to generation. As parents, particularly as women, we know that we are 9 times out of 10, we are the cooks. We are the people that go to the grocery store. So statistically, even in a 2-parent household where both parents are considered involved in housework, women are still more likely to be the ones who cook and are responsible for the food choices of the family, right? No misogyny there, no feminism there. That's just straight fact, right? It doesn't matter what nationality you are, doesn't matter your background, that's just straight fact. Even when you have a wonderful husband who cleans and, generally women are the ones. So we can have a huge impact on the foods that our families are choosing, right? So the first thing that I always encourage parents in particular, kids of every age, is stop giving your kids juice, right? So juice is probably the number one issue for teaching kids healthful habits when it comes to food, right? There are, inside of the health community, professional researchers, there's all different types of opinion as to what is the actual cause of obesity, right? Some people look at the amount of carbohydrates we eat. Other people look at the amount of processed food, the difference between processed food and whole food. Some people blame lots of different things, but one single thread goes across no matter what their overall opinion is about the cause of obesity that may differ from their colleague. The one thread that goes through every single philosophy about obesity is that it is directly correlated to sugary drinks. And those sugary drinks are both soda and juice. Now, a lot of people are under the impression that, well, it's apple juice. It comes from a fruit. This has to be good for my kids. This Orange juice, you know, all the commercials say, have a glass of orange juice next to your toast. This has to be good. It comes from a fruit. It actually is not a good choice because it is concentrated sugar. I refer to juice, no matter what fruit it comes from, as the healthy person's soda. If you look at the sugar content of orange juice and you compare it to the sugar content of other sweet juices like apple juice, like orange juice, of soda and what is those, Capri Suns and things like that, you're going to see both of the sugar content being the same, and sometimes the juice sugar content is higher. Now, the next response I often hear to that is, but isn't it healthy sugar? I am here to tell you that there is no such thing as healthy sugar, okay? Sugar is a chemical compound, whether it is contained inside of some orange juice or it's contained inside of a candy bar, your body is interpreting it the same way. It is adding to glucose, which is going to prompt insulin, which is going to rise. And that is going to create a domino effect of other hormones that can create inflammation, that can create obesity, we know now that the amount of fat that a person has on their belly is directly correlated with diabetes, right? The more fat you have on your belly, the more likely you are to actually get diabetes, right? So juice is something that could be like, what is the first thing that I can do to try to get my kids healthier? Now, you might have a revolt if you're a juice family and you all of a sudden announce, I'm never buying juice again, all right? So your kids might tie you up and put you in the basement or something. So I'm gonna tell you how to ease them into it because sugar is an addiction. And yes, kids can be addicted to sugar. So for your safety in mind, I don't want a whole mob of kids outside of my house. You told my brother to stop giving me juice, right? No. So one of the ways that you can do is if you have smaller children. So I would say if you have kids that are under 7 and you always giving them juice and they're used to having juice, start by diluting their juice, right? My kids who are adults now, they laugh because when we talk about their childhood and they talk about how they thought water juice was a thing. They would literally come to me and ask, can I have some water juice? So when I did give them juice, I would dilute it. And they thought like everybody drank water juice. What? I mean, like who drinks only juice? By the time they were like 8 and they were making their own juice, they would just go in the kitchen and pour a little bit of juice and pour water. So it was just a thing, right? So you create these habits and this is just what you do in your house and do it very intentionally. So if you have kids, so I'll take the most extreme example. You have kids that drink soda, that drinks apple juice, that drink orange juice. One, just stop buying soda, right? And just say, okay, we're gonna have juice. No soda, just juice. Then take the juice and intentionally, if you're making their juice, put it a quarter of it, just water. They probably won't tell the difference. And as the weeks go on, just begin to dilute it. This works really well with little kids. You got a 5-year-old, you got a 4-year-old, start to dilute it very gradually. They will barely even notice if it is a gradual process. Then, so as my kids got older, by the time they got, my youngest one was probably, 4 or so, I just stopped buying juice altogether. So I had kids at the time between like 4 and 12, just stopped buying juice altogether. Now, as an adult, I recognize that intentional effort, all of my children just drink water as adults, right? You come over, we have family dinner. We don't have juice on the table or soda on the table. And I don't want to be hypocritical. If there is a family cookout and we have other family members coming over and we know they drink soda, yes, we will buy soda. And I'm sure that a few of them will have a cup or so of soda, but it's a special occasion thing. It's not something that we actually have in our house. So I have, you know, 2 sons who have their own place, their own families. If I go to their house right now, I'm 99% sure I will not find soda in their refrigerator, right? It'll be water, right? At worst, they'll try to get fancy and go actually buy water instead of having a filter. But it's a habit that I recognize that I was able to break this habit because I grew up in a house where soda that was what you drank, right? So my mother was a Pepsi girl. Pepsi, Pepsi, Pepsi. It could not be Coke. It could not be a non-name brand. It had to be her Pepsi. Right? So so that is a generational nutritional habit that I've been able to break with my family. So that would be the first step that I would encourage you. When you are giving your kids lots of sugar, even though you may think, well, this makes them happy, what you're doing is you're really giving them an addiction to sugar, which leads to them wanting to eat more. Right? So for parents who are struggling with kids who are struggling with their weight, and you see that, oh, you know, they're just always hungry. This kid just really loves to eat. Sometimes it has to do with the types of food that they're eating. When you have a sugar addiction or carb addiction, and this can happen for kids at any age, right? It's all genetic, biological, as well as habits and lifestyle. They want to eat and they're not satisfied with one plate. They want to eat more. They want to eat more. And we know that that leads to obesity. For kids in particular, I'm always concerned about seeing a kid that is obese, because the thing about fat cells is once you develop them, they never go away. Now, that sounds crazy because I teach hundreds of women how to lose weight, right, on a daily basis. But here's the thing. Fat cells are like balloons. They fill up with fat. Once that cell has gotten to its capacity, it then breaks off another cell, creates another cell so that can fill with fat. When we lose weight, we are literally just burning the fat inside of the cell, but the outside of the cell stays in our body, which is why once you're overweight, now ladies, you know the struggle it is of keeping the weight off after you lose it, right? And that's one of the reasons why it's a struggle, is because the structure of that fat cell is still there. It's empty because you lost the weight, but it's really ready. It's ready and waiting for you to just go back to your old habits so it can fill up again and it can expand, right? So if kids are developing fat cells and being overweight at age 10, at age 12, it is going to be much harder for them as an adult to maintain a healthy weight without actual effort to it, right? Without watching everything. They're going through the same cycle that many adults go through, right? It becomes, and the problem with younger kids or young kids as well is, you know, as an adult, many people can say, well, you know what, I didn't struggle with my weight until after I had my second baby, or, you know, I can eat anything when I was 24, right? All of these things that we can say, but this next generation, they may not be able to say that because they're struggling with their weight at 13. They're struggling with their weight at 16 and 18. Because the fat cells developed much earlier than when we were younger, right? Because they developed fat cells, they will have to struggle longer than what we have. So keeping our kids healthy, keeping them from being overweight is super important. So I gave you the tip of making sure that the number one, getting them off of sugary drinks. Number two, increase vegetables. We know 70% of adults in America do not eat sufficient fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. And it may not sound like something that's really simple, and I know it is a struggle for some kids. for probably about a year. I went through this phase. I remember specifically when I had my two boys who were probably about 2 and 4 at the time. The only thing they would eat was broccoli. I literally fed them broccoli every single night. It drove me nuts. But Jurassic Park had come out and they thought they were dinosaurs and they were eating the trees. So that's what they did. So if they want to eat broccoli every night, I gave them broccoli every night, right? If you have a kid also that is just really like, I hate everything green, I don't want to eat it, have them try different things, right? And also too, just because they didn't eat it when they were 5 doesn't mean they're not going to like it when they're 8. Our taste buds change as we get older. Getting them to eat vegetables, not just fruit, because remember, it's still sugar, right? People will say, well, if fruits and vegetables is in the same category, then I can eat a banana 3 times a day. I can just give them grapes. I can just give them watermelon. This is all of the stuff that they love. Of course they love it. It's sugar. The sugar is what makes them love it. But you want to reduce the amount of sugar that they are intaking, right? And so the way that you do that and get them the same nutrients without the sugar attached to it, because the nutrients inside of fruit can be substituted or can be used as an alternate. You can get them from vegetables without the sugar attached to it. So for example, bananas are high in potassium. Bananas also have 30 grams of sugar in every banana. Avocados are higher in potassium, and they have no sugar attached to it, right? So when you're thinking about how you're getting nutrients into your kids, you got to think about, okay, I need to get them to eat actual vegetables. Experiment with different recipes, have them try different things, encourage them. Like, I know you didn't like this last year, but just take a little piece of it. And then if they're super resistant, one of the things, particularly for younger kids, that I really like to do for those vegetable haters is get them to make smoothies, right? But here, there's rules around smoothies. The smoothie is when you put the whole fruit, the whole vegetable inside of a blender and blend it. The only rule that I have on smoothies is it has to be green, right? So they can throw a half a banana in there. They can put strawberries in there. They can put whatever they like, because remember, we're trying to wean them off of the sugar. So don't just cold turkey. No, you can never have a banana. No, you can never have juice, right? They might attack you. So trying to protect you here. So have them add it and then say, oh, but we have to add a handful of spinach. So we're going to add a handful of spinach, and then I'm going to let you put whatever else that you want to put in there. When you do that, that comes to our next point. It involves them inside of the preparation process, and they're more likely to actually eat it because it involves them in the preparation process. That is the third tip that I wanted to give you. If you're having a hard time getting your kids to eat healthy, getting them to just sit down and eat a full meal, right? And like, I've seen parents who's like, all my kid will eat is French fries. Like, whatever I put on his plate, he only eats the fries. I have to make him fries every day. Like, there's kids like that. Getting them involved in the preparation process has been shown to actually encourage them to eat healthier, right? So that means if you have a teenager, take one night where they get to pick a recipe and you make it together. If you have a little kid, have a 13-year-old and maybe they can't do an entire meal, they can help you cut the onions. They can help you cut the potatoes. They can help in some process of the meal. That encourages them to, hey, we're choosing food as a family and we're gonna, be healthy as a family. It gets them more interested in, hey, this is what it looks like before it was cooked, and now this is what it looks like after it's cooked. Very, very fascinating, putting an entire container of spinach inside of a pan and it comes out to like a half a tablespoon, right? Very fascinating. So So that actually get kids more interested in the process when you involve them in the cooking. So those are the 3 tips that I wanted to give to you about getting your kids to eat healthier, that you can do hopefully with any age of child that you have. But I also want to make sure that I emphasize how important movement is. And this has been crazy because we're all quarantined, right? It's been so crazy. Like, you're like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to move, and these kids are just running around in circles and they're driving me nuts, right? Well, but the body is meant to move. This is one of the reasons why being in quarantine has upped anxiety levels, has upped depression levels, is because our bodies are meant to physically move, right? So I want to give you time for questions. All right, so I'm going to see if I can fit this in the next 10 minutes. All right. Because I want to give people time to ask questions. When it comes to movement, it's super important, not just for your kids' physical health, but also for their mental health. It will actually help them to do better in their schoolwork. So there is a book I highly recommend everybody read it. It is called, it's called Willpower. I'm going to remember the name of it. But the book is what the book is about. The book is about willpower. And well, that's what the title of the book is. But what the book is really about is how exercise actually changes the brain, right? And so one of the things that the author talks about is a research study that they did in a suburb outside of Chicago, where they had high school students to volunteer to be a part of this study, where they engaged in vigorous exercise before school. So all of these kids showed up early. They basically went through vigorous exercise, meaning it was enough to get them to sweat, right? And then they monitored their grades. They found that it actually improved their test scores. It improved their concentration. What it does is that it increases BDNF in the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is considered like the brain jet fuel. It protects neurons, it helps grow new neurons, it improves memory, it improves focus and concentration. People who have dementia and Alzheimer's have low levels of BDNF. So doing things to actually raise, that's a whole nother demographic, but BDNF actually is used as a treatment protocol for them, right? It's recommended as a treatment protocol to raise BDNF. People who have depression and anxiety, when they look at their scans, they see that they actually have lower levels of BDNF. So it is and kids who have hypertension and deficit disorder. All of those things can be improved by increasing BDNF. One way of doing that is getting them physically active. So they had such a significant rise in their test scores. The way that the school applied this research after it was done, and they saw the significant difference that it made, is they then, when students come in and register for classes, whichever class the student says is the hardest for them, that they have the hardest to get good grades in that class, they paired their gym hour immediately before that class, right? So oftentimes we think like, oh, how is exercise is just for the body? It's actually for the brain too. So if your kid is going to do a test and they are feeling anxious and they have anxiety, say, you know what? Let's get up in the morning. Let's go for a walk around the block. Get up literally right before your test. Do 20 jumping jacks. All right. We're getting our blood flowing. We're getting the brain active. This is the way that we're going to help focus. Exercise doesn't tire them out for schoolwork. It actually helps them focus more. When you are at home trying to homeschool, it's hard getting them out, right? Because the parks that we used to go to, we can't go to, the activities we can't go to, but you can, even taking a walk down the block. even having, hey, you have multiple kids, once a week we want to have a race, right? Let's see who can run the fastest. And it becomes fun, it becomes competitive. We're going to play volleyball as a family. We're going to play soccer as a family. Think of things that you can get them to physically move. So that's number one. Number two, if you are homeschooling your kids, make sure that you give them a activity hour, right? Or class. And don't make them sit down and like, oh, you can go outside after you're done with all of your schoolwork. If you actually give them a break and let them say, have your activity hour in the middle before you're doing your hard work, it's actually going to help them focus better, right? So get them on a schedule where they are, this is for parents who are schooling from home, get them on a schedule where they can anticipate when they're going to be able to be active, that they are actually physically active during that day. If you can't go outside, you know, now it's getting cold. I live in Connecticut in the United States. We had a nice day today, but a couple of days is starting to get chilly. Winter is knocking at our door. Try active games, right? Twister, right? That's a game where everybody gets in and put their hand in different places and you're stretching and you're moving. Find ways for them to be physically active indoors, not just on the game or on the computer, right? You can pull up a YouTube video now and do some fun stuff with little kids. They have online classes. My little sister, she teaches a class called Zumbini, which is a movement class for kids who are under 2. So even if they're really little, get them in the habit of, hey, I want to move. Hey, I get to move at this time. It's something for them to look forward to. It's something that's going to help them concentrate better on their schoolwork. And it's also a way to get you active, right? So that's the other thing. You want to be involved, right? You want to figure out a way for you to also stay active with your kids. Start off with little things, right? So you can catch the ball, they can go and they can, you know, throw it for you to catch it, and it gets you moving around as well. Being involved, not just saying go outside and have fun and, you know, I'm going to sit here. Try to be involved with them as well. So those are some of the things that I think will be really helpful to empower parents to get your kids to eat healthier, to move more, so that you can break any generational habits from your lifestyle that leads to disease, right? So in circling back to my initial point is, even though my mother had diabetes and her mother had diabetes and her father has diabetes and my sister has diabetes, I know that I can choose to move and eat in a way that will, inshallah, prevent me from developing this disease. My father had high blood pressure. His mother died from aneurysm due to high blood pressure. His sister died from an aneurysm due to high blood pressure. It runs very strongly. Every cousin that I can think of that is over 40 on my father's side has high blood pressure and is on medication for high blood pressure. It's a strong genetic component to it, but it is not a chain link. I can avoid it. You can avoid it by choosing foods and movement that is going to keep your body healthy, so it's not passed down from generation to generation. You can break that health pattern in your family. So I will open it up for questions.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, first of all, nobody can say that you are a grandmother. So congratulations for that side, being a grandmother and don't look like a grandmother. So that's amazing, mashallah. Did you say that you have 20 and 22-year-old? First I was like, oh.
I do. I have a 22-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Mashallah, mashallah. May Allah Ta'ala, put barakah in your household and your family. I wanted to ask a question, and I know that in the meantime, other people can also post their questions and comments on Facebook. if they have one. So from the organization perspective, I mean, I also have grown-up children, and now I have 2 grandkids. So I can relate to some of the things that you were talking about and how they tell me that what was the darkest era of their life when I was homeschooling them and telling them to eat. I have one vegetarian and I have one person who does not eat if they don't have meat on table. So it's like a challenge in my household all the time. But our challenge is that we want to do youth well. When we do our programs, we don't have sodas at all. We don't buy juices. So water part, we are good at it. At the same time, the challenge is that when we are having our programs, we want to make sure that we do not buy junk food. We want to have only, we said this is our youth wellness center. Our policy has to be that we are fresh produce and, things that is healthy for them. Is there any source, is there any place, is there any link that we can use not only with our moms, but also for organizations like ours who are doing youth programs for in a group settings? What would be good stuff that we should buy? Because this is something that we cannot cook all the time. This is something that we are relying on what is available in the market, and we can only be so, creative. If there is already something out there as a resource for us to go, and I can direct my directors, this is where you're going to select your menu. This is what we're going to buy in bulk and we will have in our center, because this is something so important that what we are telling people to do as an organization also.
Right. So the first thing that comes to mind, first of all, let me give you credit that that's wonderful that you're thinking about it on an organization level, because I think that that's really important, right? We have to think about it in our organizations. We have to think about it in our masjids. We have to think about it in any group setting where we can help to foster health for our community. So health becomes a norm, and healthy eating becomes a norm, not an anomaly. So the first thing that comes to mind is that there is a program called Cooking Matters, right? I actually spent a summer teaching diabetics at a local health care clinic. But the beautiful thing about Cooking Matters is that it breaks it up. So I would suggest that you get your directors or whoever's in charge of the food to see if they can connect with the organization. Many of their books can be downloaded, and recipes can be downloaded for free online if you just like Google Cooking Matters. So what Cooking Matters does is they actually certify people they do a certification. They certify people to go and teach cooking and health workshops. So it's simple stuff. It's not like a huge long, like you got to go to school for a month or anything like that. They have it broken down in such a great way. So they may have a simple recipe of, say, handmade ranch dressing, and then along with it, there's actually a handout that may be, if it's for smaller kids, it may be, say, a maze where you can put together, what's healthy and what's not, or a crossword puzzle. For adults, it's an actual information sheet. So they actually have different programs. I believe they have, to my knowledge, I know of 4 different basically tracks. They have one for kids, they have one for teens, and they have one for adults, and I'm pretty sure they have one for seniors as well. But their stuff, the foods are really simple. Some of them you may not have to cook. It may be just like, hey, choose this, this, and this, and you can put this together. And they make it super simple because the goal of Cooking Matters is, one, the cook instructors normally do this on site. So I literally was like bringing a hot pan and the food to a clinic, right? And so it can't be too involved. So there's recipes that you can cook, or even just prepare, no cook recipes that you can prepare, as well as there's recipes for families to have that are healthy recipes. So you might want to, choose from their selection to start handing out and giving families suggestions of things that they can do at home that is a healthier way to cook. So Cooking Matters, they're they're a national organization. They have pockets in different states. You might be able to find one where you are.
That's awesome. And this other thing that I picked from your, talk is that jumping jacks idea. And I was thinking that for our reading program director, I would definitely tell her to do that in the beginning of the reading program, because, now our challenge is that our children are already online, and then this program in COVID pandemic is also online. So the challenge for them is that how do you really separate? Now you're not in a school, you are in some fun activity or something.
Right,
so I think it was very informative. Dorothy, you have any question coming in, or you want to ask them?
Sure. I just wanted to share that before, well, not before, but when COVID started and it was finally, hey, they're home on the couch next to me, I remember I was sharing with all my friends a slogan that we had going on at my house. And I said that the children say, if we ain't doing, we better be chewing, because they were eating so much. And I think that is, across all of the parent boards, across interfaith, intergender, whatever, everybody is having the same, complaint, for lack of better words, is that the children at this point are just chewing. So the challenge is, when they're at home e-learning, how do we keep them chewing, but know the difference between when they are really hungry and need sustenance versus when they just ran out of stuff to do. Because again, like I said, my 5-year-old only gets hungry when it's time to turn the device off or when it's bedtime. Now he's never eaten before. He's starving.
That's so funny. So this is a habit thing, right? And no shade on the kids at all, because adults have this habit. We get bored and we start eating, right? So this is about just fostering new habits for them, getting them to do something with their hands. That's number one. So get them into puzzles, get them into blocks, get them into, turning device off and build me a castle, right? So doing something, it's about being bored more than it is about, obviously them being hungry, but also what you have available. This is why it's so important that moms really understand how important it is for us to set the parameters in our house when it comes to food, right? Instead of buying chips to be in a counter, okay, go get a carrot, go get some celery. You can dip the carrot in peanut butter, you can dip the carrot in cream cheese, you can dip it in whatever, but you're not gonna have chips, right? Giving them alternatives, and you will be very surprised how unhungry they become when their option is to go eat a carrot. So sure, you can have something to eat. Here's your options: carrots, celery, cucumbers, pickles, right? Those are your options. Which one are you choosing? And also, I think that if you have a problem with your kids eating a lot of junk, don't buy junk. And not to you personally, just as a general, if you have your kid is always pulling on chips or whatever, don't bring it in the house. Don't have it. And that's not just a kid thing. It's for adults too. You're having to struggle with your weight because you eat lots of cookies at night. Don't buy cookies. Then at night, you won't eat cookies, right? So it sounds simple, but you have to make intentional effort towards things like this. But it's about really coming up with an alternative way of curing boredom, curing stress, right? So sometimes kids, like adults, I have a big test coming up and I'm just eating while I'm supposedly studying, because it just becomes a habit. So it's really about breaking habits and figuring out how you can give them an alternative to that, right? So for older kids, it may be, I'm going to teach them how to meditate. I'm going to teach them how to do breath work. When you're anxious, get up and do a full downward dog yoga stretch instead of you going to the refrigerator or something like that. So, and think of like creative ways as well, right? Yeah. Okay. You can have one serving of the chips that's in the counter if you do 100 jumping jacks first, right? So creative ways of getting them to move and coming up with a compromise. So you know, in your household, everybody knows what is the thing that your kid is just not going to give up unless you put a few parameters in that. The other thing too is that give them a limit. Say, okay, you can have this, but you know what? You can have 2 cookies because that's a serving size. You can't eat a whole row. Like, you just, here's your 2 cookies, right? There's
in the 13th. Can I have 13 dates? What? I think because he knows I'm gonna bring him down, so he's like, let me shoot high. They are smart. Sister Mubarakah, we do have another question. We have a question from Najma. Go ahead and unmute your mic. We are a small group tonight, and we like to make it friendly. So Najma, unmute your mic and feel free to share and ask your question.
All right, the cameras. Can you see me? I think the video was on also. Okay.
No, I can't see you. Just the voice.
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Mubarakah. My name is Najma Cox. I was invited by Dorothy to attend, and I'm a person. I was diagnosed with diabetes 3 years ago, and my dad and we're generational diabetics, and I finally came up with that I don't want to be diagnosed or have this illness, and so I got into trying to lose the weight. I started a program called Herbalife, and I was 260 pounds, and I'm now 234 pounds, alhamdulillah. And I noticed that when I took my A1C, it went to 4.9. And my doctor was wondering, like, what is going on with you? So I let her know that I had started this Herbalife, and then I started doing exercising, and now I am in a jumpathon for my daughter. So I've been jumping for almost 12 days. Well, I got sick a little bit, and I noticed that from the weight loss and the exercising, my mind state has changed. My thought pattern is more positive. I think more positive. I'm happy, you know what I mean? And I just want the whole world to know, you know, because health and wellness is important and it feels good. So I'm now a distributor of Herbalife, and I'm all over the place trying to, you know, promote health and wellness. What do you suggest as a coach, a wellness coach, correct? On those type of certain products. What do you know, like these different programs, weight loss programs? What do you suggest for like the youth?
I'm not sure the question that you're asking me. If I suggest a product?
What do you suggest for like the children that are at home during this COVID? Like, I'm in Herbalife, but do you suggest that for like teens and things like that? Because my daughter, she's eating a lot as well. What do you suggest that I do for her?
So for kids, I do not recommend that kids take products, because I think that we have to, even as the adults, I think that we really need to get to a point where we're actually choosing whole foods. If you are consuming a product, then you're consuming something that was made inside of a factory, even though it have all the nutrients there. And I'm not speaking directly to Herbalife. I'm not familiar with Herbalife's ingredients, right. But if it is a product, then we as adults have gotten ourselves to a point where the only solution for us is maybe to take a product, right? Our goal for our kids is to prevent them from getting there. So the best way to do that is to teach them how to choose healthful foods, how to eat in moderation. What I recommend for kids in general is to get them physically active. Find a activity that they will enjoy. So when you introduce children to sports, to activities at a young age, once they find something that they enjoy, they're more likely to stay active as an adult, right? One of the issues that we have as an adult in gaining weight is that we're very sedentary. Live in a sedentary society. We go to gyms as necessity, right? We're like, you're not going in the backyard. Most people are not turning their soil, planting their crop, pulling in crop on a daily basis. Because we don't have that activity, we now have to go pay somebody $25 a month to use their treadmill, right? So our goal for our kids should be teach them how to eat and move in a natural way so they don't end up having to take a product, like any type of product. So that's what I recommend, is that really focus on helping kids understand how to eat healthy. We're choosing this food because of this. Food we're eating, we're going to move because you know what? We're going to feel better if we move. So, we're going to go for a walk. It's going to help us after dinner. It's going to help us digest our food. We have a busy day today. So, you know what? We're going to get up 30 minutes early and go for our walk before our day starts, because it's going to help us focus a little better. Teaching them those type of habits will prevent them from becoming us.
Shukran.
Alhamdulillah.
All right, I don't see any more questions, and I do know that there were people who were cheating and cheating just because they let me know. They said, I have to work, I can't make the live event, but I am registered because I do not want to miss the recording. Even though we put the recording on our YouTube channel, they said, oh no, I want it personally sent to me. I said, oh, well, fine, princess, sign up and it will be sent to you.
I do want to ask before we depart for tonight is that Sister Mubarakah, we would love to share all the links that you would recommend for how all of our sisters and parents can follow you, and inshallah Sister Dorothy can share them in the comments also. But if there is any website, there is any program, anything that you think would be healthy if they want to join you in a formal setting, people are looking for coaches like you, and having to have a fitness expert, a Muslim sister is a big deal. So if you want to say any of your product or things that you think would be beneficial for our community, for our refugee community, for our kids, our youth who are mostly from underprivileged neighborhoods that we serve, it would be awesome. And we would love to talk to you later on if there is any way that we can set some of our youth leaders from those communities in some way in your programs, that if we want to train them as leaders in this area and for their own communities.
No, I'm doing that. So you can find, so I'm on social media all the time, too much according to my family, but I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under Fit Muslimah, FitMuslimah. You can find me there on each platform under the same username. For more tips and information, I go live very often on my Facebook page, and I talk about various aspects of health, happiness, and food on my Facebook page. I do and Instagram, I'm there on a daily basis as well. So anybody can reach out to either one of those places. If you're interested in coaching, fitmuslimah.org is my website. And again, the same name, the same username, FitMuslimah. I do a weight loss program for women that is under mr40method.com. So the number 40, mr40method.com. You can find me there. And inshallah, maybe we can talk offline about youth program. I currently don't have a program where I actually train youth, but that is a great idea. Start getting them, encouraging them to start early and spreading the word early, because we certainly do have a lot of young people who are becoming more conscious about health and how health affects our bodies, affects our environment, affects our family, and they may not have a way of pursuing that interest, and that's really important.
Yeah, actually, we have youth leaders who went to school for culinary arts from the refugee community. And when you were talking about cooking matters, I was thinking about them, and I was like, this is something that we should really look forward, talk to you, and see, how we can really bring this thing to our youth group in some way, in whatever capacity, even if they are videos, and we can talk about that in offline. But really, thank you so much. It's just amazing. I thank you, Sister Dorothy, for your leadership, for this connection to making this possible for us to have this program today. So informative, so much needed. I myself have been on some kind of keto diet, which is like modified, and I lost 20, and then I went back 10 up. And then again, I don't want to have that kheer in my fridge because I want to stop eating this kheer, so I put it in the freezer. And I don't let other people bring anything.
Her social media, Sister Zerka, when you and I, we were doing the keto, her MR40 method goes into that a lot. And what I found different about Sister Mubarakah is that she breaks down the science of it. And that's what I like, and I think that that's the message that we definitely want to share more with parents and youth, that it's not even just as simple as stay away from this, do that. There's a real science to it. There's a beauty to it. There's an art to allowing your body to do what it's naturally created to do. So that's when I started my whole woman crush there. And
I am joining you, Sister Mubarakah. I am telling you, because I'm just tired of, losing this and then going back, and it's just, and this sugar is killing me. I just can't fast from sugar.
We gotta get you off the sugar addiction. Man, we can do that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Ladies, I appreciate you having me, and inshallah, this will be a good connect for future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. And inshallah, this will be posted on YouTube channel also. And we hope that we will be following up within the next episode. Sister Dorothy has already scheduled for next 4 months, and we are so happy for that. We will be publishing that for all of you, brothers and sisters and our youth. Inshallah, this was beneficial, and inshallah, we will see you next time. Thank you so much, Sister Mubarakah. Assalamu alaikum to everybody.